Hi guys, so for this interview, I'm being joined by Pedro Munhoz in a second. So Pedro Munhoz, number 7 ranked UFC bantamweight at the moment, is looking for a fight. So we're gonna talk about this, about matchmaking, his background. So let's do this. Can you tell me how did you start being interested in martial arts and especially jiu-jitsu?
Yes. Um, Jiu-jitsu, I start when I was 13 years old. I had a background of martial arts before that. At 4 years old, I started doing karate. I used to watch a lot of Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, kickboxer, things like that, and Karate Kid. So I wanna be a kickboxer. So I started karate. Starting karate at 4 years old, and then I did for about a year or so, and then I stopped. And then in that time, I went to the first grade. One of the schools that I went, they had as a physical educational. We had soccer or judo for boys. For girls, they had volleyball and something else. So I choose judo, even though my dad always has been a soccer fan, but I always like fights, because John Claude Van Damme and all that. So I did judo. So I did the judo the whole year. I was 7 years old. So we're talking about a 1993, 1992, For the whole year, I did judo. And then there was a first grade. I don't remember right now if it was a first grade, second, or third. But I remember that school. Yeah, something like that. I was probably like 9, 10, like around 8, 9, 10 years old. I did it for a whole year judo. And then I left the school. I was living with my grandma for about 1 year. And then I was, just going to school, being a kid, playing in the streets, things like that. That's one of the things that kids, they don't do today. They stay in like electronic and stuff. I was very, very fortunate to be able to play in the streets, with friends and all that. All right. At 13 years old, I was a little older. I was able to watch the first UFC, first, second, and the third, when Royce Gracie and then was beating all those guys. So I didn't know. I started watching that, and then they were talking about this Brazilian family represent the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and then me in Brazil, born and grew up there. I never heard about Jiu-Jitsu. So a year later, I found this gym next to my neighborhood that they had a jiu-jitsu school. So I went there with my dad. My daddy registered me, and then I started jiu-jitsu. I compete a couple months later, and started competing a lot. I fell in love immediately with jiu-jitsu, and then I'm around my 16, 17 years old. I went by. While I was competing and doing jiu-jitsu, I was training boxing. One of the Brazil's biggest Brazilian champion. His name is Peter Venancio, and I boxed with him for about a year, and then competing jiu-jitsu at the same time. And then I started migrate a little bit, little by little, to no gi instead of gi. I started competing more no gi. Um, I, I met this guy. I met this guy from Cuba. He used to know a lot of wrestling, and I was learning wrestling from him, competing jiu-jitsu. I got promoted as a brown belt, and then I got promoted as a black belt, which I never competed again a black belt because I was already migrating to MMA. And then I did my first MMA fight back in 2009, and then 2009, the end of the year, I fought my second time. 2010, I fought a jungle fight in March, and then I came to United States the same year, I think in June. And I fought United States, local shows in California, and then I signed with the RFA. I signed with their RFA. I won against two tough opponents, and then my third fight was against Jack Kern, a UFC veteran. I fought for the title with him. 6 months later, I defend my title, and then I got signed UFC the next week.
Yeah, like 2 weeks later to fight Asun Sao.
To fight in a short notice, yes.
Just come back. I would just like to come back to the jungle fight because I watched it. It was your third fight, and I asked you if you did some striking before jiu-jitsu because when I watched it, I realized you already had that good right leg kick, and I was like, how come it's not perfect yet, but I was like, how come it's already here? Because it was like a good snap behind it. So all the karate that you did before helped you already when you transitioned to MMA, and maybe doing no-gi jiu-jitsu helped you a lot?
It did. It did help me a lot. Help me a lot because I was competing a lot. I was doing a lot of wrestling. It was helping me with the takedowns and the takedown defense and MMA as well. And when you saw that fight, it was in 2010. I was already training Muay Thai with biggest like Brazilian champions we had it back in those days. His name is GB, Moisés Souza. It's he won the Lupini. He was I had a French Muay Thai coach, Daniel Bohan.
Okay.
Do you know him?
I know him by name. I never met him. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in Paris now.
But French has a lot of good kickboxer and Muay Thai fighter.
You know who is a good friend of mine too? That I trained with him. We became a good friends. Fabio Pinca.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's great.
Very good.
Yeah, he's one of the best from where we are for sure. Yeah.
You in Paris?
Yeah, I'm in Paris. Yeah.
In Paris. So yeah. And then I was training. For a little over than 1 year. One of the biggest Muay Thai team in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, my city. So that's why you were able to saw me displaying like a good leg kicks and that.
Yeah, because often when I watch, like when people mention you, we start to talk first about jiu-jitsu. And often when I go back to watch the early fights, it's often guys that just want to get it to the ground to finish it because they don't have that all-in-one game.
I like to fight stand-up. I like it. I
know.
Enjoy it. I have two passions: jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. Since I was a kid, I don't know if you saw, I have my Instagram picture that I was 3 years old. 3 years old, I'm sorry. And my dream was wanted to be a kickboxer. So I was hitting the bags and things like that. So I enjoy the stand-up fight. I have, like I said, I tell everybody, oh, what's your hobby? What do you like to do? Man, I love study jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. That's the stuff that I love to do. That's my two passions. And then I was able to combine both, and that's my style. I have like good jiu-jitsu, in a lot of jiu-jitsu. I won Brazilian national no-gi 2 times back to back. I think 2007, 2008, if I'm not wrong. But like training Muay Thai, even back then, as a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, starting boxing, and then Muay Thai starting when I was already a black belt.
Yeah, what's great when you start to do everything at the same time is that you can develop muscle that are good for jiu-jitsu, but also for striking. And often people who did like 15 years wrestling, they need to relax all those muscles. You need to be loose on the feet, and you didn't have to go through that process. You were already kind of like built as MMA fighter. So that's my question. Was always the plan to become an MMA fighter, or did it become just like when you said, seeing like the Gracie, but like when you were like 12, 13 years old?
Yes. When I watched the first UFC fights, I really wanted to fight in that type of organization, but it was kind of like far for me a little bit because I know I had to go through a process. And my first one goal I was to become a jiu-jitsu world champion. It didn't happen, but I won the national twice. And then I was to migrate to MMA as a jiu-jitsu world champion. So it didn't happen. I didn't win the world champion, but I won the nationals.
Yeah, and so when you arrived in the States in 2010.
My Muay Thai coach, he knew my manager, Ed Soares and George Joinha. And he told them about me, and he said, yeah, And then also I had a friend back then that he used to live in Redondo Beach, which was next to Gardena, the Black House. And I went there. I stayed at his house for 3 months, and then after I went to live in the gym. But it was very nice. It was very close to the Black House, and that's why that was, you know, first thing. I was living in the neighborhood. I had a friend of mine that used to live there. Knew my manager, introduced them to myself. I met them, and that's how I got the opportunity to train at Black House.
Yeah, and Black Ass and Cordeiro, they were like kind of perfect for you just because of that pressure, cutting the cage, ends up, leg kicks, and at the same time, if someone shoot on you, they have a big problem on the end. So I think it's a gym that help you a lot to create your style.
That's true. That's without a doubt. A guy that I used to train a lot at Black House, and I started training with him. The next day that I got in the United States, it was Kenny Johnson, the wrestling coach. So I learned a lot from him, and that's where I met Rafael Cordeiro, my Muay Thai coach when I used to live in LA. He used to teach at Black House, and that's how I met him as well. So Black House a um it was a special moment in my life. I met a lot of great people there, and a lot of good things happened for me while I was training over there.
All right. And so when you were in we talk about this. So you beat Jeff Curran, and Jeff Curran was like a legit veteran in MMA. And then you defended the belt
Yes.
like in January, and like 3 weeks later you fight Rafael Cordeiro, who at the time just beat TJ Dillashaw just before. So he was like
Yeah.
top 5, top 6 bantamweight.
Yeah, he was top 5. I think he was number 3 when I fought him.
Crazy. And you took the fight like how many days? Notice?
7. Yeah, it was decision. Feel that I was not mature enough for that type of fighter. Rafael was better skills. And my first UFC fight against a guy like him to just beat TJ, had a lot of fights. For me, I think it was like a little bit too much. But it was good because after the fight, I realized that even though I didn't have a time to prepare myself, even though that I was fighting a guy that was number 3 in a week notice, and then we stayed there toe to toe, in that moment I realized that I had the skills to be, one of the best fights on UFC, on my
So
division.
when I saw that fight live back then, I remember 4 things for that fight. First, that you had a crazy chin already because nobody goes toe to toe with Cordeiro like this at the time.
It's
And
true.
there was some stuff that you do technically that already told me you're just more than someone who just move forward. Like I remember, it might be in the first one, you kind of like went a jab and a left hook, and he slipped the jab, duck under the left hook. And normally when this happens, people, they get out of balance and they are like in vulnerable position. But you pivot on your lead foot and stay right in front of him. And I was like, so I wanted to know which coach, like maybe Cordeiro, helped you with being a pressure fighter, but like a good technical pressure fighter. If you can talk about this a little bit.
Good question. I was already training with Rafael Cordeiro for 3 years. And yeah, Rafael Cordeiro was the guy that when I got in California, he was the guy that I learned a lot from. And we used to do very hard trainings in the gym. It really got me prepared and was able to like make those things better. And I was always like to fight forward. He was the guy that always was insane. He was always insane. He was just motivate me to keeping doing more my game going forward, to fight, counterpunch, things like that. So he definitely was a guy that I trained under him for 2010 until 2017 when I moved life for 7 years. So when I fought UFC, I was already 3 years training under him. So it was, you know, he was one of the guys that was to always motivate me to do what I like to do, which is, stay head toe to toe and kick and punch.
Yeah, never stop moving forward, for sure. And actually, your kicks were already very good because Asuncao's lead leg was hurt. Like after 1-2, he started switching stance because he could not take it anymore. And that's the third thing I realized, that you understood what the open stance will allow you, because now that he was southpaw, he opened the body kick. And actually, there was like a cool sequence where you get him with a body kick, then you feinted the body kick and get him with a right hand.
That's good. That's really good.
And even in that fight, you almost submitted Rafael Cordeiro.
But that movement right there in the fight that you're talking about, that's a jiu-jitsu. I went to a heel hook. And Rafael Cordeiro has really good like jiu-jitsu skills. So he was able to defend the heel hook. But yeah, I remember that. It was really good.
So you after that fight, you fought Matt Oba like a few months after, and you head kick him.
Yeah, it was in Sao Paulo, my hometown. It was a nice victory. It was a nice victory, and it's in front of the crown in Brazil. It was really nice. Matt Oba was a legacy champion back then, so it was a good fight. So it was very nice. I have a good memories from the fight.
Yeah, and actually after this fight, you quickly start to fight other big, great fighter. Like, so you had the Gerard Saunders fight, which was very, very short fight.
Yeah.
He actually did something was pretty cool, is that he shot under your leg kick into a single leg.
And then I took him out.
Yeah, and then it was game over with the guillotine, even with the slam.
Yep.
And I have a question. Guy. So it's very rare that your guillotine doesn't end the fight, but sometimes it happens. Like I think Brett Jones did pretty well against your guillotine.
He did defend very well.
So did
Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
Aljamain.
Yeah, they both did pretty well. And I was wondering just if you can give a few tips. So when you get guillotine, what is the first thing you make sure is good? Do you have the grip, of course, maybe the hips?
Grips. The grips, and it's the practice, it leads to a perfection. So I have doing guillotine since I was 16 years old. I learned guillotine, and then I started, applying training, and it has been working. A lot of people was tapping, and I was like, wow, that's a really good weapon. And then I started like getting better. And the guillotine, that's something that I have been doing for the last 10, 20 years almost. And then people ask me, what is the secret of the guillotine? It is definitely not secret. It's just like I said, the more that you practice something, you're gonna develop that well. And that's what I did with the guillotine. I just have been doing for a long time, over and over. And I still learn it sometimes, some days, like a different details. But it's not like a grip, a hips, a thing like that. I think it's just the combination and the setup for every single response and counters. You know what I mean?
But what's crazy about the guillotine for you is that, as the way you fight is that you break people, right? You pressure them so much that at some point they either have their legs taken off or they have to shoot. And that's as they shoot, like a leg who's a bit injured, or they shoot and they are tired, they make mistake and right away. So it's kind of like your perfect final weapon for you, because
that's true.
It makes your MMA game perfectly. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's true. That's you put the pressure, starting punching, like, and then the other person person's gonna go for the takedowns most likely. And it happens a lot in training too, you know. That's one of the reasons that I'm able to get in fights, because I just do a lot in training. So it's, yeah, like I said, it's just practicing over and over.
Yeah, about your training, I remember, you know, we are more like in an era where people, they say they don't spar too much. You're kind of like old school. You say, no, me, I spar a lot. I like to spar. And you go hard. So can you talk about a little bit like, or what your fight camp look like for like a normal fight?
Yeah, I like to sparring twice a week in a fight camp. You know, I like to do a lot of pads, Muay Thai pads, boxing pads. I like to do like specific training, which is everything wrestling, grappling, all in training. I like to spar with MMA gloves, not the ones that we fight, but a little bit more pads, like
Like six
bigger,
ounce, six?
something like that, something like that big. The ones that it's very cushy, you know, they have a lot of protection. So I like to spar with those a lot with a good training partners. That one that I can push you but don't hurt you, but can definitely push you. So I like to spar. I think it's really important to spar. My point of view, that's how I see, you know, myself in a fight overall. I train twice a day. I do my hard training in the morning, and then I do some technique at night, or strength and conditioning. And that's how my training camp looks like. You know, I do like a hard training solid in the morning, and then something technical or lift at night, about 4 or 5 hours a day.
But you train with Robson Conceicao. So did you went to Brazil to train with him?
No, he came here. He came to Miami to train American top team, to use the training as part of his training camp at the facility. He brought his coaches with him. One of his coaches, it was my boxing coach at the time. So we were able to train
How
for
long
a good
how long did
few
you train with
weeks,
him?
like about 4 or 5 weeks.
That must be, you must have learned a lot with him.
A lot, a lot, a lot. Really good. It was a it was definitely a blessed opportunity to be able to train with the Olympic gold medalists. You know,
Yeah. Do you feel like training with him kind of help you in other fights where sometimes you don't have the speed advantage?
that's true. That's true. Um, I remember training with him, and then remember like, oh wow, this guy he's fast, and besides that, he had like a huge rich advantage. So it's definitely got me some confidence to stand, you know, and strike with like anyone. I was like, bro, I was just done with 3, 4, 5 rounds with the golden Olympic medalists. And like, that's no one that can stop me.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's probably one of the most the best thing to train at American top team is all the different looks you can have in a day. Like you could be
That's true.
sparring with like Lineker, then Horiguchi.
Yeah, we do have a lot of people like right there training, special like good athletes, good fighters. That's definitely like really good. We're always gonna be able to like get like a good trains from that place.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about your kicks because you kick very, very well. And actually, when I mentioned that I was going to interview you, there's Josh Barnett who asked me a question. And Josh Barnett asked if you work with Victor Henry.
Victor Henry?
Yeah.
Yes.
And because he said he has kind of like the same kick, similar type of kick. And he wondered if you work with him at some point.
Yes. Yes. While I was living in Los Angeles in training at Black House, I met a guy, Chad George, today's a good friend of mine. He had a gym. He still have a gym in California, in South Bay, called California Mixed Martial Arts. Josh Barnett trains in the gym as well. And one of his students, Victor Henry, good fighter, really good guy, has a lot of talent. Yeah, I remember training with him a lot. He was definitely, good training partner and very like good skills, good cardio, and besides that, good person.
And I just ask you, what was your favorite finish in the UFC? And you and I, we disagree about this because you said Rob Font, the one-arm guillotine choke, and I said Russell Doan. Can you just talk about those two finishes?
Robbie Font, yes, Russell Dome from Hawaii. Yeah, Russell Dome. We exchanged a little bit, and then we were kind of like scrapping, and then I was on his back and getting the cage, and then I had that thought, oh, I'm gonna do that guillotine, and I did. It works very well, so it was good. And then against Robbie Font, you know, um, long, good boxing, smart fighter, very danger. And then I threw a left hook first. He felt that he back up in the cage. I pressed him, and then he shot for a takedown. And then I remember, just getting a hold of his chin. He tried to roll his back to defend. I went over, and then I was able to get him the guillotine. That was like my two favorite guillotines. My two favorite finishes was definitely both of them against Rosso and against Robbie Font.
That Russell Doan fight was violent. From the start, he was like, oh, like I feel him and Cody, they kind of like the only two guys that say, okay, fuck it. I will go with Pedro, like real fight, like one-on-one. Like most people, they run away from you. But Cody
Yes.
and Russell, they tried to I want sharpen iron, like they tried to grab
Yeah.
me. I know that's your
The,
type of fight you love. So yeah, for example, when you fought uh, Cody Garbrandt, that's what you mentioned, that you knew that if you go just head to head, he will be the one going down, and that's what happened. And even though he was faster, but you said even his power, it wasn't much. You see, you fought people that punch harder than this.
yeah. Actually, a guy is very fast. Is you mentioned him before. It's Kyoji Horiguchi. He's very fast.
He is, yeah, he is,
Very
he is.
fast.
Do you train with him often?
I do. I do. He's recovering right now from a knee injury. But yeah, we used to train a lot often. He's in the gym back training. He's almost 100%. But yeah, he's super fast. And Hobson too is super fast. So I was, when I fought with Corey Gabbard, I noticed that he was way faster than stronger. So he was faster. I thought he would be stronger, but I felt him fast. Boom, super fast.
And so when I watched that fight, because I rewatched it like last week, and I realized I had a different memory of the fight. Would you say that your first main weapon is your leg kick? Because once again, in that fight, after like 2, 3 low kick, he started to try to put his leg away. And when he was square, you tried for the head kick. So would you say that your leg kick is the base of your work?
I like leg kicks a lot. I like leg kicks, and I always notice from the beginning that I have like strong kicks. So I have just been like perfecting the kick, the technique, and things like that. And so that's one of the stuff that I like it. I like to I like to kick. I like to kick, and I think I kick super hard. And I use that as a part of my strategy, just to distract, to hurt, to my opponents.
And so I was realizing you never fought a 5-1 fight in the UFC. And when I watched your last fight against Sterling, do you feel a 5-1 fight is more suitable for your style?
Yeah, without a doubt. I thought that fight against Aljamain Sterling, if the fight would be 5 rounds, if we have two more rounds, I think somehow I would be able to catch him a good punch and hurting more his legs, and he would, and let's say stopped him to move away that much. I think 2 more rounds we could have definitely like make more damage, and stopped him.
Yeah, because when I watch this, there's so many fights in the UFC where 3 rounds feel like I want to see 2 more, like because it's too close.
Yes,
Like, and I would
too
like that
close, right?
at least one extra round. If there were just that extra round, it would be awesome. It would be okay. You guys are even. The guy who won the last one, he wins. But I want to talk matchmaking a little bit with you. I know you're gonna be mad because you struggle to find opponents.
Yes,
It's been a long time now that you fought, like almost a year now.
I was supposed to be fighting, in May.
In Sao Paulo?
No, but what happened in San Diego, the crisis, in December I got an offer to fight Cody Hagen. The fight didn't happen. Hagen didn't want. He was supposed to fight Frankie Edgar. And then I had the chance to fight a guy, Cody Stemman, number 10. He didn't want the fight. And then they offered me another fight. The guy didn't want to fight. And then I called out Peter Yan. He didn't want to fight as well. And then they started negotiating me to fight a possible fight between Uriah or Frankie Edgar. So we started negotiation, and then the crisis came, and I thought that I was fighting somehow Frankie in June. Looks like he's avoiding to fight me. He's calling out other guys and things like that. So I'm just hoping that next couple weeks we can. Now this weekend's the first UFC, and then after that I think the negotiation is gonna starting happening again quick. So that's the reason that I have been, almost 1 year that I haven't fight. We were not expecting this crisis, the pandemic. And the pandemic happened, it was all the negotiation have stopped. But yeah, so that was something that nobody was expecting.
Yeah, of course, the pandemic, it changed kind of everything. But I felt that even before that, there's a lot of people that either don't want to fight you because they want to fight up in the rankings, and also they just don't want to fight you. And so from what I heard this week is that Sandhagen is going to fight Sterling.
Who?
Corey Sandhagen is going to fight Aljo.
Yeah,
they're going to fight each other.
That's what I heard too.
And so I knew Frankie wanted to fight Sterling. But now that Sterling and Sandhagen are booked, do you think Frankie Edgar can fight you?
I think so. That's the negotiations that we're gonna try to make happen right now.
5 rounds with Frankie will be great.
5 with Frankie in somewhere end of June or July. Yeah, let's do that again.
Thank you, Pedro. Have a good day. Thank you. Enjoy the fight. Bye-bye, man.
Bye-bye. Take care.